see you there. So today I'm going to be attempting to make some concrete gargoyles. I've always wanted to do a concrete sculpture and I've always wanted gargoyles. So I feel like this is turning into some kind of like molding channel, but I'm really enjoying the process of like sculpting things and then making molds from them. So this is going to be on a much bigger scale, but I think the actual process is going to be a bit simpler than what I have been doing because it's not going to be going on my face, not going to be painting or anything. So I'm going to sculpt out of air dry clay because I feel like it doesn't really matter. And then I'm going to mold it with a silicone compound. And then on top of that, I'm going to be doing like a plaster shell to give it some stability. And then I'm going to pour concrete in that. I think I have everything already figured out, so this should be a smooth process. Probably famous last words, so yeah, let's do it. Okay, first thing first, I need to build a base for the sculpture, and so I have these like fencing things that were like super cheap at Home Depot, but it's a little long for what I need, so I'm gonna trim it down. And then I'm going to attach it to a base, and then hopefully I'm going to see if spraying Loctite, like kind of as a base around that, will work. It's tacky within 15 minutes, cures within 8 hours. So I'm hoping that I can sculpt on it today, we'll see. Yeah, that'll make the sculpture lighter weight than just a ton of clay, and also it'll save on the amount of clay I have to use. Behold my phallic masterpiece. Well, obviously it's done. I'm ready to display it outside my house. So I think the spray foam like expanded more than I expected it to, but like I think it worked out pretty cool to have something to sculpt on that's not just air so that I don't have to use as much of my clay, even though it's like a cheaper air dry clay. Like I always try to conserve costs when it comes to crafts by whatever means. So right now I don't really have a plan for what I'm gonna sculpt. I just know that's a gargoyle. Or like I saw a stone artist describe making gargoyles as jazz, just because they're all so different. They're all very creative in what like animals or creatures they're referencing. I think I'm just gonna kind of wing it. Obviously it's gonna have wings, so I think that's appropriate here. Time to get started. Some clay. I'm ready to go. done. It took forever, but this was actually like a labor of love because it was really cathartic or like enjoyable to just like mush all the clay together. And it turned out like way better than I expected. So as for gargoyle, or as the French would say,
Gargoyle.
gargoyle. As for the next part, I need to cover it in a silicone molding compound. That's never done that before, so this is gonna be interesting. Then after that, I'm gonna cover that all in plaster to give it a hard shell so that once I'm ready to pour the concrete, it's like, you know, solid. So I let everything dry overnight, the plaster, and hopefully letting the latex and the clay cure some more. Sorry, I'm kind of sick right now, so if I sound awful, that's why. The plan is to completely demold it, use a drywall saw, cut the plaster down the middle so that we can have a shell for the latex to lie in. But things did not go according to plan. Well, that was an abject failure. The plaster just started breaking off in pieces like the minute I started cutting into it. There's a number of things why that could have gone so wrong. It might be the plaster I used. I didn't use plaster of Paris like I have in the past just because they were out of it at the store. I used like a drywall plaster, and I didn't think it would be that much different, but I think it was. I think it was a bit more brittle. I feel like even if I had used the correct plaster, it still would have failed because the amount of detail in the sculpture just didn't allow for it to come off in like two simple pieces. And I couldn't figure out a way to cut it in multiple pieces to where it would come off. So it's back to the drawing board. Luckily, the latex is perfectly intact, which to me was the most important part because that preserves the integrity of the sculpt. Now, I need to figure out how to create a shell around the latex that remains flexible enough to where I can get it off of the sculpt and then later off of the concrete, but to where it won't stretch and warp once concrete is poured in there because it's heavy. And I don't know what I'm gonna do. So I did do some research, and something I saw is someone covered the latex layer in aluminum foil and then made a two-piece fiberglass mold out of that. And it looks like Home Depot has fiberglass resin, so I think that's what they would have used. I'm not sure how much I would need. So I think I'm gonna try that. Well, off to Home Depot again. Woo!
Several days later.
Sheesh! It has been a week. So after the last part of my video where everything went to hell, my entire household got sick, our water heater went out, so I had to shower at the gym. And then it's like, this week has just been tough. So hopefully this doesn't interrupt my upload schedule because I know how the algorithm likes it pretty often. So if it's not getting it from me, it's gonna go with someone younger and creepier. So I'll get rolling on this. I think I've got everything figured out for what I'm gonna do this time. Here's the plan. I'm going to cover all the latex in foil and create some sort of like barriers, maybe 4 quadrants, maybe more, to where I'm not having a lot of like underhang. I'm gonna have a raised portion in between each of those sections and then cover each section with fiberglass resin, which apparently has a little bit of flexibility, but isn't so malleable that it won't support the concrete. So I think that's pretty ideal. Once all the resin is dry, then I'll take it off and hopefully I will have created a shape that I can just like bolt them together. As with this whole project so far, this is gonna be a figuring out as I go. There's not a lot of resources out there for doing this, and I found a post on Reddit that was like 3 years old, so hopefully that provides enough guidance here. Otherwise, it's back to the drawing board where I don't really wanna go. I swear, this is the most frustrated I've been about anything for a long time. This is the worst. The fiberglass resin, the instructions said I needed some sort of like fiberglass mat or cloth, which I didn't have. Some people online said that you could use like regular fabric because I'm not repairing like a car or boat or anything. So I did that. And at first it seemed like it was gonna work, but everything was just so tacky that I couldn't get it in the details. And then everything just started sticking to each other. And then when I would put one layer down, like another layer would stick to it. And it was just like, okay. I need a minute to regroup and figure out if I'm gonna keep going on this resin trajectory. This was supposed to be like a straightforward project. I feel like I'm going crazy here. So I got some fiberglass cloth and tape. They were out of more than just one package of the fiberglass cloth, so go figure. But there's another way to go about putting the fiberglass backing on, which I'm gonna try. I don't think I have enough resin left to just completely scrap what I've already done. I'm gonna apply some metal tape to make the like divider area and then put the fiberglass cloth on top like I was doing with the regular cloth. So despite the challenges of this week, I'm feeling strangely optimistic. Maybe I'm dissociating, or maybe it's the amount of caffeine I've had today, but I think I've finally achieved it. So I had the fiberglass resin situation, let it completely dry, and now I'm going to take an angle grinder to the edges so that I can create the like separate parts in between the little barriers that I made. I really hope that's gonna work to get it off without damaging what's underneath. But then after I get the pieces taken off, I need to like peel off the latex, put it back in the shell, and then I'm ready to pour concrete. So looks like I'm seeing the light at the end of the tunnel finally. Maybe that's why I'm optimistic, I don't know. Oh my God, so this is gonna be one warped and wonky mofo. I was ecstatic that the whole fiberglass thing worked, but I had some problems with it. Clearly, it just wasn't a very clean fiberglass shell. And in pouring the concrete, there were a few spots that were weak, and the concrete has caused the latex to like bust out of the shell, and the sheer weight of it has like collapsed the whole thing to where it's like flat on top. Like the horns are gonna be pressed against the head, which I mean, that would look cool. And this thing is gonna look diseased. Oh my God. I think I'm like delirious at this point. This project is really kicking my ass. The sculpt is still mostly intact, and I covered it with plastic to keep the clay still moist. And I'm gonna let the concrete cure, and then we'll see where to go once I demold the whole thing. If need be, well, first of all, I might just call it quits and be like, my wonky looking gargoyle is as good as it's gonna get for now. Or if I'm feeling really up to the task, I might go ahead and do another fiberglass shell, but do it like better. I'm defeated. I feel very defeated, but I guess it's still too early to throw out the baby with the bathwater here. We'll see when it's cured. Within this box of chaos, we have the culmination of my blood, sweat, and tears. Literally, all of that went into this project. If it doesn't turn out great, I mean, I can always redo it at some point in time. And it's honestly a win if it just like comes out in one piece. I'm expecting it to look just warped and weird and nothing like my sculpture. It's a gargoyle, so whatever. Okay, here goes. Oh my God, I can see it's gonna look absolutely stupid. You ready? Oh my God. Oh God. I can't even lift it. My God. But it's flat on top, so cool. Well, here she is. Oh, it's somehow like wet. Do you see how ridiculous this looks? Well, there's a concrete sculpture under here. It's looking more like E.T. right now, which I mean, I'm a big fan of E.T., so. He lost some toesies. You ready to see the abomination? Somehow this is all still really intact shape-wise, except for where I had to like cut it out. But This is about right, yeah. For how this week went, yeah, this is exactly how it should have turned out. And I love her. So obviously this project was a big fat L. She's got a bad case of scoliosis and a face only a mother could love, which I do. And the whole journey was filled with a lot of starts and stops. But honestly, I learned a lot along the way. I really do think I could do better next time. And I have decided to name her Faith with a Y, appropriately millennial, but because I've still got faith in my crafty abilities, even though I don't know why. And yeah, so here she is in all of her lumpy glory. Please enjoy, and I'll see you next week.